let me get this straight. The Democratic Party is currently fighting against an initiative whose purpose it is to save our taxpayer dollars. Yeah, the Democrats are fighting against DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, whose sole purpose is to run through those books and to see what the hell the government has been doing with our money. Let's not get this twisted. Whenever a government says that they're going to buy something, they're going to spend somewhere, or they're going to give money, what they mean is they're taking my dollar and your dollar for those initiatives. Now, we currently have this movement on the far left or whatever's left of the left, which is trying to save USAID. Now, for those of y'all who may not know what USAID is, it stands for United States Agency of International Development, which means that it is money that is taken out of our pockets to give to everybody else and their development, while the folks in North Carolina are underwater and the folks in California are sieged by fires, right? While you get a little $700 here or there, the rest of the world gets billions of dollars of our taxpayer money. Now, I would have no problem with this if we were prospering at this moment in time, if we didn't just go through Bidenomics, which completely shot the entire economic system. But that's not the reality. The reality is that many people are struggling and our economy is in one of the worst conditions it's been in modern American history. And so Elon Musk starts going through the books of organizations such as this one, and the Democratic Party has a problem with it. As a matter of fact, they are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that the rest of the government is not audited in the same way USAID, which should be shut down, mind you, which should be shut down. This is coming from a legal immigrant in these United States. I was naturalized as a citizen from the age of 10 to the age of 20. I went through that entire process. And coming from Africa, I know that much of the money that supposedly goes out to the rest of the world actually never reaches the people.
Oh,
You did it.
it switched.
Yeah, you need to switch.
Okay, well, let's do this, and then let's do this.
There you go.
So, Proverbs 29:12, if a ruler hearkens to lies, all his servants are wicked. This verse warns about the consequences of leadership that embraces deception. When a leader listens to lies, corruption spreads among those who serve under him. Luke 16:10 through 11, he that is faithful in that which is least faithful also is in much, and he that is unjust is the least in unjust also in much. And therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches. Jesus teaches here about faithfulness and integrity. If someone cannot be trusted in small matters like material wealth, they will not be trusted with greater responsibilities, including spiritual blessings. Well, welcome everybody. And I'm back. We're back. I'm moved in, full of boxes, still haven't unpacked, but I'm back. I'm moved in. So we're holding this special night of Faith and Freedom Fridays. Before we get started, please like and subscribe and share our podcast. We're also on Rumble. And also Real Talk, Real Solutions, LaTanya's channel, mine, Faith and Freedom Talk on YouTube and Rumble. LaTanya, thank you and everything. And we got a great show. A lot has happened since we last were with you.
Yeah.
That man does not play. He hit the ground running as soon as he got inaugurated, and woo! Here we go. So sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and we're going to go.
Welcome to Faith and Freedom Fridays, where we explore the godly way to vote with faith and integrity. Here are your hosts, LaTanya Evans and Kathy Ryan.
Oh, Kathy, welcome back.
Wow.
Oh, this has been a road, a journey. These past 2 weeks, I want to say.
You're
And
telling me.
yes, yes, yes. Huh. And I want to say thank you, everyone, in the chat. Thank you, everyone who did show up for what I tried to attempt to do on, but it was like, it just wasn't, no. So thank you for doing that time. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the moderators for being here. And, Kathy, so
Yeah.
I know we hadn't been here for a minute, but I'm noticing Shireen was saying it's not streaming.
What's not streaming?
It's streaming, but I guess for some reason it's not streaming on my channel. And what's interesting is I'm looking at, even for the moderators, it's not doing that correctly. I'm wondering, and even at the top right, it shows me connected, but I don't see you.
Okay. I should be connected. It says I'm live.
It's not streaming on your channel at all.
Okay. Let me go.
So things happen. This is also, real
time.
real
Technical
time.
issues.
Go. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to okay, so I'm going to my channel. I mean, my and
It's spinning. It's streaming.
it's streaming.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I wonder, what I think what happened? I think what happened was when I had to, earlier when it didn't let me, I think that has something to do with it.
It's streaming. Yep.
Okay.
Let's see.
Well, thank you, Rosie, for finding it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rumble. Yeah. Rumble. Yep. Rumble's good too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're good.
So we're good. We're good. Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Awesome. Hello, Joseph. Thank you so much. Bichota. Bichota. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Connie's here too. She had to feed the cows.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for joining, Connie. Well, so a lot's happened. Trump has got his, moving along in his confirmations. So Marco Rubio has been confirmed. Pam Bondi's been confirmed.
Has RFK?
I'm sorry?
Has RFK been confirmed?
No.
I don't think so. Not yet.
Not yet. Neither has Kash Patel.
Okay.
And then they postponed the vote out of committee. Well, RFK's they voted to pass him on to the confirmation hearings onto the Senate. So he's out of committee, but they haven't confirmed him yet. Kash Patel is not out of committee yet because the Democrats still want to ask questions, another round of questions. The first round of questions was them just spouting off. They didn't ask him any questions. He just sat there as they were going off and didn't ask him any questions. It's just ridiculous. And I called my senators here in California that are both Democrats, and you can't speak to them, but I called the call center, tried to leave them a message. So for Alex Padilla, I was able to leave a message and say, hey, and you only get a few seconds. And it's like, hey, I'm tired of you guys playing games. Do your job, get it out of committee, send it to the Senate so he can vote, and Trump can get the job done that we voted for. I call Adam Schiff's office because he's our new senator. Oh boy. And his voicemail is full. I couldn't leave a message.
Wow. I wonder why.
Hello. I mean, he's one of the most corrupt. He was one of the most corrupt congressmen. It's like, California, get your act together. Quit voting in these dumb people.
Wow.
So anyway.
So like you mentioned, Kathy, we got Gabbard. We got her through.
Pam Bondi.
We have Pete Jessup. He's through.
Yeah, Pete
Hegseth. And then we have the person that I can't think of his name, or the financial.
Yeah. What's his name? Let's see. Trump's cabinet, who has been confirmed. Let's look it up.
Okay.
Trump's.
So do we have any this week coming up?
Well, we should have RFK.
Okay.
And Kash Patel.
Kash Patel, yes. Okay. So hopefully they should get through next week, right?
I hope so. It didn't take this long for Biden's cabinet to get approved.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, Scott Bessent, Treasury's been confirmed. Pam Bondi.
Oh yeah, Pam Bondi, yes.
Doug Burgum, Interior, has been confirmed. Doug Collins, Veterans Affairs. Sean Duffy, Transportation. Tulsi Gabbard has been announced. Okay, so Tulsi Gabbard has been out of committee. She hasn't been confirmed yet.
Oh, she still has. Okay.
Pete Hegseth has been confirmed. He's the Department of Defense.
Right.
RFK is out of committee. He's not been confirmed yet. Kristi Noem, Homeland Security, she's been confirmed.
Okay.
She hit the road running. I'll tell you. She's been on.
Are you talking about Pam or the other lady?
No, Kristi Noem. She's been with ICE. She's been at raids. She's been on it, man. She's been there.
Wow.
With these deportations, she's been there. John Radcliffe, he's been confirmed. He's the CIA director. Marco Rubio, he is the Secretary of State, and now he's acting director of USAID. And we'll talk more about that because that's one of our main things tonight. Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner, he's been confirmed. Chris Wright has been confirmed of Energy, and Lee Zeldin, he's the Secretary of the EPA.
Okay.
So RFK is out of committee, but has not been confirmed. At least Stefanik has been out of committee, but has not, and she's United Nations, but has not been confirmed. Brooke Rollins, agriculture, out of committee, has not been confirmed. Jameson Greer, trade representative, is not out of committee, not confirmed. Lori Chavez DeRemer, Department of Labor, out of committee, has not been confirmed.
So, but some of the main ones though are, am I correct? Like
the big controversial ones were Pam Bondi,
like
Pete Henson,
Mm-hmm.
Tulsi Gabbard. She's out of committee. They expect her to go through.
Okay.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's out of committee. We still don't know if he's going to go through. Kristi Noem, she's out of committee. She's been confirmed.
Okay.
The other one is Kash Patel. And we need to be praying that he gets confirmed.
Yeah, I noticed they really nervous about him.
Yeah, he's going to be, you know, the FBI director, and he and Pam Bondi together are the ones that will uncover all the corruption that's going on in the government.
Okay.
So those two, yeah, those two we want.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
we shall see. Yes.
Those two we want. So we're going to cover all the things in the big old hoopla, and all the meltdown that's happening with the USAID. It's not USAID, guys. It's not. There's no aid in this USAID stuff. So you're going to hear that in the media. There's no aid. Okay? Hear that from us. It's the truth. There is no aid. It's, what is it? Well, I'll let them explain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let them explain, because I'll screw it up. All right. So this first one, Chris Salcedo. You like him? You don't like him? He's the liberty-loving Latino. Okay? He's a little bit harsh, but God love him. He does love the United States, though. You got to say that about him. And I don't think we've ever aired anything about him from him before. But I think you guys will like it. So I'm going to cue this up here. And it's going to start, and I don't want it to start, and it's on the wrong channel. So give me a minute.
Okay. So if anyone have any questions, please remember to leave a Q in front of your question, and we will try our best to answer it. And if someone is very passionate about something, we'll drop the link and you can even come on. So either way. And I'm going to go through the comment section while you are working on that. Let's see here.
Okay. Little bit of difficulties here.
That's okay. We are the real.
And internet issues, of course.
Oh. Yes.
It signed me out.
Oh, it did? Oh, that's wow. We must really got some good stuff to share that people need to hear.
Yeah, for signing me out.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. All right. So I have a question for everyone. in the chat and those who are in the I. And hello to those in the I. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. In your city, have you witnessed any deportations? Have you witnessed ICE? Do you know anyone that has experience with that situation? And if so, do you mind maybe talking about it? You can leave it in the comment section. I have not personally. I don't know anyone, but I will say this. Tonight, when I went by the store, there was the person who helped me he said that his parents are legal, but I mean they're not naturally born over here, but his parents are legal. He came over, and then he was saying that he was part of M16, and I was like, I didn't know. I was like, M16, and he was like, yeah, because what happened when I was getting my fruit that I was paying for, I was rushing, trying to get back home, and as I was about to leave off, I noticed that I had some fruit still up under my purse. And so I was like, "Ooh!" I said, "I forgot. I need to." I said, "You need to scan this." I was like, "Ooh!" I almost walked out with this, and he said, "I would have walked out." I was like, "Okay." I said, "No." I said, "You're kidding." I said, "You wouldn't have done it." He said, "Oh, yes, I would." He said, "I would have walked out with that." And then that's when he went into saying how he showed some type of sign on his body, or his arm, okay, on his arm. And I didn't know what it was. And then he mentioned he's part of M16. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I think I've heard that, but I don't think that's good. That's not good? Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They're very dangerous. I think they're El Salvadorian.
It's a gang. Yeah, he said he was part of the gang. And
yeah, it's a gang. It's a very ruthless, horrible gang.
Oh, wow. Well, he said, and he went on to say that he had no choice because, okay.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. So I will be back.
America last loves big government. We break through the noise in today's preamble. Here, tweeting out his focus: an unelected shadow government is conducting a hostile takeover of the federal government. DOGE is not a real government agency. DOGE has no authority to make spending decisions. DOGE has no authority to shut programs down or to ignore federal laws. DOGE's conduct cannot be allowed to stand, end quote. First, Elon Musk is performing an audit of the federal government. He's reporting his findings back to the White House, where the president will choose the appropriate actions. There's nothing wrong, unconstitutional, or illegal about it. But did you notice all Chuck could talk about was government, government, government? That's all these leftists care about.
What's happening right now is a hostile takeover of the U.S. government. There's no other way to describe it. It's happening clearly across our justice system, where just a few hours ago, a deadline passed for FBI employees to fill out a questionnaire detailing their involvement in January 6th cases. In other words, they were asked to fill out basically a loyalty test.
Right. Are you loyal to the law and the Constitution, or are you loyal to Democrats? You see, you can't be loyal to both, as the Democrat Party has arrayed themselves as the antithesis of the rule of law and the founding document. President Trump has his sights set on all government abuse and corruption. One of the most prolific and costly abusers is the den of vipers at the so-called Department of Education. To rein in another rogue agency, Trump has hired Linda McMahon.
I want her to put herself out of a job, education department. So we're ranked number 40 out of 40 schools, right? We're ranked number 1 in cost per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. And we're ranked at the bottom of the list. We're ranked very badly. And what I want to do is let the states run schools. I believe strongly in school choice. But in addition to that, I want the states to run schools. And I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
The president is right. Since Jimmy Carter created the Department of Education in 1979 as a political payoff with your money to the teachers' unions, America's education system has been in the sewer. Our nation taxes us the most and spends the most per pupil on GovEd, and that gets us last in the academic rankings of the industrialized nations, or close to last, depending on which metrics you're measuring. Why? Because the GovEd system is infected with leftists. When I asked this audience if America should abandon this loser GovEd system by kicking the feds out, an overwhelming number of you said yes. You love your kids, you love your grandkids, and this nation's children more than you love another corrupt, Democrat-infested, bloated, and failing government agency. Now, a few of you wanted to keep a smaller GovEd department in place. Tracy wrote to me, and here's what the note said in part, quote, I have been a special education teacher for 27 years, and I have a lot to say about the issue. I'm fine with giving control back to the states, except for the Department of Special Education for our children with disabilities. I taught in a blue state of California and know all too well that the federal money given to the state was pocketed by administrators for everything except our students. I think that the U.S. Department of Education under Linda McMahon should continue to manage and control how the federal funds are distributed and make administrators accountable so that the special needs students can once again benefit and progress, end quote. Now, Tracy, you may be right that as long as Linda McMahon runs a smaller department of GovEd, money might be spent wisely. But what happens in the next Democrat regime? You know, it reminds me of how we conservatives supported the Patriot Act. It may have been good in the hands of George W. Bush, though the jury's still out on that one. But look at what Obama did with it. It's the Salcedo Show axiom number 6, folks. It's best not to give government more power, lest it be abused. Because history proves me right. I know that government programs started with the best of intentions will always be used to harm our people by charlatans in big government. Just look at USAID. Look at what Democrats in government did with their war on women. President Trump stopped the Democrats' abuse of women yesterday.
But Marco is going to make clear to the International Olympic Committees there, and he's going to make it as clear as anybody can make it, that America categorically rejects transgender lunacy. We want them to change everything having to do with the Olympics and having to do with this absolutely ridiculous subject that we even have to talk about this subject. If you went back 10 years or 15 years and you would move forward and listen to this, you'd say, what the hell are they talking about? This is impossible. But you have people out there, Democrats, that are still totally in favor. They can't win the argument. They can't win a debate. They look like fools, and they continue to go on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Democrats' war on women is being undertaken by fools, as the president said. Nancy Mace, speaking to some of these left-wingers about their conduct at USAID.
Today, I'm going to expose some of the initiatives USAID has funded over the years and ask each of you a yes or no question. If you believe these expenditures of American taxpayer dollars put America first, so it'll be yes or no. USAID awarded $2 million to strengthen trans-led organizations to deliver gender-affirming health care in Guatemala. So to each of you this morning, does this advance the interests of American citizens paying for trannies in Guatemala to the tune of $2 million? Yes or no? Governor?
No. I have no position.
Of course you don't.
And unable to defend such an absurd priority for taxpayers' money in order to protect their deep state slush fund, leftists on the committee attacked the Congresswoman's language as not being politically correct.
The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur in the LGBTQ community.
They're more concerned with slurs than where the money's going. Spending our tax dollars. They're more concerned about hurting somebody's feelings than doing their job and and being accountable for the money that is being spent. Does that make sense to anybody? Not me either.
And the transgender community. And let me please finish without interruption. And
Tranny. I don't really care. You want penises in women's bathrooms, and I'm not going to have it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Let
disgusting.
Let the gentleman state his parliamentary inquiry.
To me, a slur is a slur.
A slur according to whom? Some astroturf aggrieved leftist who wants to change the subject? Bravo, Nancy Mace. My friends, the demand of Democrats that we use their language is the same mindset that says we must refer to illegal aliens as migrants. Why? Because Democrats don't want to solve the problem that precise language identifies. This is the same reason why I, your liberty-loving Latino, do not say DEI. Left-wing kooks tell me I have to say it that way. But why? Is there a law that says I have to say diversity, inclusion, equity in a specific order? No. The left-wingers simply don't want me saying DIE, die, because that effectively and succinctly tells our people all we need to know about this racist, cultural, Marxist ideology. But you and your kids, you've been instructed to listen to whatever leftists tell you. And so many of you, even on the conservative right, still sending me emails wanting to know, Chris, why don't you say it the Democrats' way? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I am an adjunct professor of the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. And I have learned my lessons well from El Rushbo. I never accept the premises of left-wing extremists.
Because I'm wearing these ribbons. I care more than any of you about anything. And these ribbons say so. I want you people sitting at home and you people in the audience, look down at your lapel right now. I want you to do this. Put the camera back on me. Do this. When you look down, what do you see? You don't see anything because you're not wearing any ribbons. It means you're a bigot. It means you're a racist. It means you're a sexist. It means you're a homophobe. It probably means you're a white guy. It probably means you're a European, and you alone are responsible for all the ills of America. But I'm not, because I'm wearing these ribbons. I care more than you.
Miss him every day. Rush was so far ahead of his time, he cut through all the left's virtue signaling and called out the destructive actions that all of their political correctness is designed to hide. And that leads me back to the rudderless, lawless, and anti-American Democrats. Not even CNN is taking them seriously anymore.
Democrats agree that Musk is a problem, but listen to them today, and they have a piñata in search of a stick.
To our Republican colleagues, if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire. Resist!
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your asses.
We have days to stop the destruction of our democracy. We have work to do. Tell Elon Musk to take his hands off your money. We don't pledge allegiance to the creepy 22-year-olds working for Elon Musk. We pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
And God,
We will win. We will win. We will win. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Gretchen.
Yeah,
So
the Democrats need a real leader, okay? They need a real leader, which currently does not exist.
And the leftists over at CNN are not the only ones leaving the Democrats' plantation. Here's a self-identified former Democrat on X.
The Democratic Party have lied to us about everything. They've lied about being the party of the middle class. They've lied about being the party of peace. They've lied about being the party that wants to help poor people. Okay? What the last several weeks have proven to us all is that this is a cadre of criminals and losers and spoiled children of affluent parents who were more concerned about looking good than actually doing good.
What he said. The bad act.
Wow.
Somebody answer me this. Why are they so upset? You know, our opening video, that gentleman, I mean, he was right. Why are they so upset of an audit?
Well, yeah. Can anyone, what is your thoughts about that? Here is our taxpayers' money. It's our money, the taxes that we pay.
Right.
And one person mentioned it like, just like your monthly check balance that you get, whether, you know, you go online, they send it to you, you skim through it or you look at it to make sure that the money that's been taken out is what you have agreed to, and that it was you and where it needed to go to, and that it was you that was taking it out.
Correct.
That's all what Musk and his team is doing. Right. They're going through and they're looking at the checkbook balance or roster of the government.
That's all they're doing. I mean,
yeah.
that was the whole intent, you know. In Trump's first term, he vowed to drain the swamp. Unfortunately, he didn't know what he was getting into, and he trusted people, and the advisors that he had led him in the wrong direction. And he didn't really know what our government was and what he was walking into his first term.
Yeah.
But he sure learned. And this time he's not trusting anyone, and he's choosing his own team who he trusts. And the problem with it is, and including his own party, is fighting him with it. You know, and he I mean, he's choosing people that, look, Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a Democrat.
And is a Democrat. Yeah, he hasn't left the party.
Well, he did leave the party. He left the party and went to the end as an independent to run for president.
Right.
He's an independent now. He left the Democrat Party to run for president. Well, actually, the Democrat Party left him.
Yeah,
is what he says. So, but Tulsi Gabbard, she left the Democrat Party and became a Republican because of what they've been doing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's not just Republicans that he's choosing.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's choosing people out of the box. Look at Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is an out-of-the-box person to be the Department of Defense secretary. There has not been a military person serving in that role, I don't think, ever.
Really? So who would be running it then? Someone.
It's usually a business person or an administrator, but it has not been a military person. Well, actually, no, that's not true. The last one was a military person because when he was approved, he had to retire. He went from the Navy, I believe, or the Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah, he had to retire. He was in the Air Force. I forget. But he I don't even know how he managed to get to the rank that he was. And I hate to say that I think he was chosen because of DEI, because of the color of his skin. Because he was black. But I mean, the man took off and had surgery. He had prostate cancer and he had surgery and didn't tell anybody. Nobody was running the Department of Defense for 5 days while he was in the hospital.
Wow. So if something would have happened to him, then
nobody knew where he was.
And he's, yeah.
You know, what would have happened if, we were attacked?
Yeah.
Because Biden wasn't in any shape or form to make any military decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, the situation that we were in under that administration was truly scary. And by the grace of God, nothing happened to us.
Yeah. True.
And yes, Layla, every job should be based on merit and integrity.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be based on gender. It shouldn't be based on the color of your skin. It should be based on your experience, your education, on your talent. I mean, do you have the mental capacity to do the job?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And we'll get more into that because we do have a segment on DEI. We want to get more into this USAID stuff and, more of the left meltdown. And then we have a really good segment from Carl Hegby on the history of USAID. And also, but before that, we got more on the left, on the Democrats, and this segment. And then after that, before we get to Carl Higby from Flashpoint, on where the dollars are going. And there's a segment here that's going to make you sick. In fact, it already did make you sick.
Wow.
So let me cue this up. Hopefully I won't have issues where I get logged out again.
Let's see. So a lot has been happening, everyone. It's like so much is happening. It seems week to week, we're having more than enough to discuss and talk about. And we almost feel like we're behind the news. We're late within the same week because of how things are just rolling out.
We are behind. Well, we're behind because I moved unexpectedly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go back here. All right.
You are looking live at the protest in support of USAID underway right now on Capitol Hill. Now, Elon Musk and Doge are currently gutting the agency of what the White House is calling waste and abuse. Now, it's panicking some Democratic lawmakers who joined the protesters yesterday over the administration's efficiency efforts.
And we will win. 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 We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest.
No one elected Elon Musk to nothing.
That's right.
Not one Democrat in America voted for Elon Musk.
What we're not going to do is stand around while they pull this bull We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your. We will see you in the courts, in Congress, in the streets. Elon Musk is a Nazi nutball baby. Every movement needs a scrappy little and I am that person. I need each and every one of you to get in touch with your inner scrappy little.
Nobody elected your. This is not Elon Musk's country.
Take your foot off my neck. We are at war.
Well, that was crazy. I mean, maybe they should get back to authoring that 2024 postmortem, but at least for the time being, Chuck Schumer dropped the avocado and the beer he used as props in his previous protests. You know, Harris, they're apoplectic, but here is what we really should be angry about. Wall Street Journal. Some USAID spending may undermine U.S. interests. An analysis by the Middle East Forum says 164 million of this money has supported radical organizations around the world. Listen to this. 122 million of that aid was going to groups aligned with foreign terrorist organizations. Protest that.
Well, and some of it, no doubt, would have been going to covering that up. Because apparently, I guess it wasn't on the front sign when you walk through the door at USAID organizations. Look, I don't think that we're shocked that money was flowing in that direction or for ridiculous other things that we see, that one being dangerous and ridiculous. But I do find it weird that so many people are rattled by an audit. Mm-hmm. Don't you forensically look at your own checkbook every now and then? And even if it's digital, now you just go online. You don't even have to keep notes anymore. It's laid to bear, and anybody who has your password can look at it too. I'm confused why those people who want to wage war on finding out the truth about where American dollars are going are so offended and threatening, and it sounds like they're threatening violence. I mean, that's how I read it. I don't know how anybody else reads. We're at war. I mean, you know, Maxine Waters bringing that back from Get in Their Faces. Remember when she said that? She was in that crowd as well, by the way. I mean, all of this is more than just offensive. I don't know. It looks insightful to me. It looks like a dangerous problem. And why? Because, yeah, we want to count the money that you're in favor of spending because maybe we need an audit. We just need to look at the books. Can you imagine if we found some bad stuff? What would they cry? Wage war?
Yeah, and let's talk about some of that bad stuff. Because, look, USAID, as we've talked about, does some good stuff. And Marco Rubio, who is acting administrator, wants to preserve that good stuff, like money for PEPFAR kids in Africa. But the bad stuff is what we're after, Paul. Take a look at this. Again, best summation I've seen. So we gave you the top line figure going to terrorist organizations. Well, let's drill down. Senator Cotton warning about money to Hamas, Syrian national charged with diverting millions to Al Nusra Front, terrorism. The list goes on. The Wuhan Institute of Virology. What is the problem with ending this?
There's no problem, of course. And as Harris points out, their reaction, we used to call this in law enforcement, a clue. Of course, they're freaking out because this is their slush fund. And this is how that they've been agenting the NGOs to do their bidding. This is all stuff that they couldn't do under official cover, right?
That's right.
So they're cutting out to the NGOs and the NGOs are doing their bidding. Here's where I would go with this. We just got Pam Bondi confirmed, right? Here's your first remit. Throw a squad, take a public corruption squad and throw it at USAID. Go on the offensive. Don't be on the defensive because these people are ranting and raving. Go in there and let's find out how cognizantly it was done to subvert American policy, because that's criminal. Because if you are agenting somebody, you own that. That's black letter law. So if I'm sitting where Pam Bondi is, and more power to her, get in there, start pulling the weeds apart and see who directed this stuff. I go back to the IRS thing. Remember Lois Lerner? We all forget about that. She's enjoying her pension someplace. Let's go at this thing the way it should be done, criminally, and let's see if they still keep yelling when we start to see what's under those rocks.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in the meantime, ignore the noise. And we can't do a segment about noise without bringing in Joe Scarborough, so let's bring him in.
The world's richest man go in and say he's going to basically tear this organization to the ground, not only will cause immeasurable suffering across the globe, it also will put us in a strategic disadvantage. This is strategic. What he's talking about doing is, I'm sorry, it is stupid.
So what's happening right now is a hostile takeover of the U.S. government.
If this were happening in any other country right now, I promise you, I'd be on the air calling it a coup.
A coup or a terrorism funding case.
That's right. And the irony to your point here is you're calling a coup an audit of my dollars, of their dollars. Every income of this government comes from us, from their salaries. So the notion of the downright shock and horror at the concept of cleaning house and ensuring your tax dollars are being stewarded wisely for goals of the American institution, for our republic, but also for the betterment of Americans, this apoplectic response is so hilarious to me because it shows you that all they care about is the control and the comfort, the sedation of having a certain amount of money just automatically deposited in and not having any idea where the origin comes from. The nexus between us funding terrorism is absolutely horrifying. And people like Sarah Adams, former CIA targeter, have been for quite some time sounding the alarm about how deeply we have funded and continue to fund these horrific threats, which have targeted and killed Americans. So we know we full blown under the prior administration fly cash to the tune of $43 to $87 million per week to Kabul. We also pay the Taliban's political overhead funding, $10 million a month dropped off to Qatar. These expenses are funding, again, the terrorism that comes full-throated back to American soil in the formerly porous southern border, and it absolutely threatens Americans' lives. So the concept that the Democrats are out there crying and screaming and waving around fruit is so despicable, and I hope this stays through the midterms again. Keep it up, because we need to understand how deeply people like Elon Musk and President Trump have Americans' interests and safety in mind.
And you know,
wow. Just wow. You know,
Layla said something, and I wonder if this is possible. She said, yes, we need the money back. So I wonder, once all the audit is done, etc., so obviously we can't get the money back.
No, but we can stop it.
But moving forward, we can stop it. So this is my question. With doing a audit and cutting the waste and all that, how will that in the future show up for the American people?
Well, that money isn't.
Will that show up for us? Will that mean in income taxes? Does that mean that people will get more money back? Does that mean different programs? How will it show up for the American people then?
What it's going to mean, it's going to pay down that debt, that $37 trillion debt that we have.
That we owe to?
I mean, the debt we have, because, you know, over the years, these politicians have borrowed money to balance the budget, you know, to pay for all of this stuff.
So who's the debt owed to?
From different banks. I don't see, that's the thing. I don't know who we owe. Some say we owe China. China owes our debt. And China can call in the note anytime and own us. I don't know.
So
that's the thing. There's no transparency.
See, that's my question. The debt. So you said, okay, so if President Trump is able to, he's doing this audit to see where all this money's going to, then he's making a decision. We pulling out of this, we doing this, we don't need that, etc. So then we're, like you said, it's like we're stopping the bleeding.
Right.
That's how I'm trying to say it. So he's trying to stop the bleeding, and then just like a something that's bleeding, you stop it so it can start to heal. It can no further be draining out, and etc. So then this is just a scenario I'm putting out there to all of us. So he stops the bleeding so that things can start to be in reverse, you know, which is, you know, so then is it possible then with all, because these are like, we're talking about billions and millions is what we're hearing, all this money that's going out. So if he's able to do that, and we're able to pay off our debt. How I still go back to how would that help, the Americans?
Well,
how would that show up?
It'll show up where we don't have to pay as much tax.
Okay.
He wants to cut taxes, so that'll show up more in our paychecks.
Okay.
He's been talking about doing away with the federal income tax. I don't know how that's going to fly.
Right.
Because originally tariffs ran the federal government, by import tariffs. Anybody importing goods to sell in the United States, the tariffs paid the federal government originally in this country.
Okay.
But we didn't have a big government. We got a huge government. Look at all this pork. And, for decades, anytime a bill got passed, there was pork stuffed in it for these special interest things. And, these 1,500, 1,800 page bills, and you never knew what was getting in there to be funded. And this is the result of it, and it's ridiculous. And what's happening now had happened decades ago. It needed to be done. And now it needs to be done. And do you see the Republicans having hissy fits over this? Even the rhinos, they're not having hissy fits over it. But the Democrats are, because I bet they're getting kickbacks. And one of the things, in one of the videos, and I don't know if it's in any of these videos that we're going to show here, but one of the ones is, I think it's in Higbee's. I think it is monies that went to Ukraine when Biden was vice president went from this USAID, was funded from USAID to Ukraine. That probably ended up back to Hunter Biden through Burisma. Which the Biden family, that was what the Biden family pardons were for, was the kickbacks through Burisma and all that mess. That preemptive pardons that Biden did before he left office. So the history of USAID, well, actually, let's play, before we get that, let's play a little bit of Flashpoint. And this one is really going to curl your toes and make you mad. Made me mad. And I'll fair warning. The beginning of this is going to make no sense, but there's a biblical point to it. And you're not going to understand the plant thing, but there will be a point to it. It's a little bit funny, kind of. And there's a backstory. But anyway.
So, Kathy, before we did have a question really quick.
Okay.
See it?
Will we get it all on our paychecks directly each week without Uncle Sam robbing us all? So you mean that money that was supposed to go to all that stuff come back to us through our paychecks? No. It won't come back into your paycheck. That money will get redirected into other funds. You're still going to be paying income tax out of your paycheck. It'll be less because Trump is trying to reduce income taxes. You're still going to be paying state taxes. Federal taxes will be less, but you'll still be paying state taxes. If you're in a state that you have to pay state income tax. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So here we go.
This will make you laugh, make you get mad, but it'll motivate you. So we're going to see. Rick Green's going to have something to say about this. So the question of the day is, what is USAID? I know you're wondering. I was. Watch.
Now USAID is, a very notorious. It's sort of a switch player. There's no aid in USAID, by the way. That's your brain is being tricked when you see the phrase USAID. It's not an aid organization. The aid in USAID stands for U.S. Agency for International Development. It is developing internationally around the world all of the institutions that the State Department needs to use. So when they are capacity building activist groups in a foreign country, that's because the State Department wants those activists there. Now, USAID, for the first time in its history, it was created in the early 1960s by JFK, 1961. It was created because you had all of this intelligence, statecraft, and military support and logistical aid that was tripping over itself. Basically, the military would be funding, would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The State Department would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The intelligence community would, and there was no sort of central coordinator of those capacity building operations. So USAID, by the way, is a $50 billion budget. The entirety of the intelligence community is only $72 billion. So it is more than the CIA and more than the State Department.
Wow.
And aid is basically USAID is effectively a switch player to assist the Pentagon with on the national security front, to assist the State Department on the national interest front, or to assist the intelligence community on a sort of clandestine operations front.
$50 billion. Billion. Ed, this is crazy.
I mean, this is one of the things I just love seeing out of this whole scenario. By the way, some of our amazing Flashpoint Army viewers are commenting about my plant that, if you remember 2 weeks ago, I said I had to get because Rick had made fun of my, wisdom pyramid back here. He said it looked like a poop emoji. And I said 2 weeks ago, I said it would be amazing if this plant lasted 2 weeks. And look how wonderful. I mean, it doesn't look great. I'll be honest with you. Apparently you're supposed to water it. So thank you. On these shows, I expect sometimes to share information. Today I learned something. So I will be putting water into this plant and making it better. By the way, speaking of plants, right outside of my office here in my front yard, we have these beautiful rose bushes. My wife is actually quite good with plants. I'm not very good at all, as you can see. She's amazing. But every January, I go out there and look at our amazing rose bushes, and they're nothing. They're literally like a stump. And I talk to my wife, I'm like, did you kill them? Did you kill the roses? And every March or April, the roses come back out better and more beautiful. And that's called pruning. And pruning is a natural part of the plant keeping process, apparently, according to my amazing wife, who knows a lot more about plants than I do. And pruning is an important part of a governmental process too. Now, I know we haven't done that for a really long time. Pruning typically only happens in the government environment when the economy completely crashes and the government runs out of money. But our government has just been kicking the can, down the street for about the last 100 years or so. Frankly, ever since the 16th Amendment, which I think was 1913, and they started taxing us. Check it out, 1%. That was the first tax. I think Rick could tell you a little bit more about the history of that. What we're doing now is pruning. And the first step to pruning governmentally is just simply bringing things out into the light. A $15 million transgender bathroom in Somalia, a comic book, in Denmark, designed to enlighten students about transgenderism. That all came from our USAID or similar things like it. And right now we're just seeing this wonderful pruning where we start to see things come to light. People go, wait a second, that's where my money's starting to go. And then enfolding that organization into what it looks like into the State Department. What is brilliantly happening right now is we're seeing all of a sudden the reaction from the left. Apparently the money train is running out, and sort of the typical cast of characters, Congressman Raskin, Congresswoman AOC, like all these people who apparently are benefited one way or another. So this is just a wonderful development. The idea of bringing this to the light and bringing it to the surface. And I think we should have a lot more of it in the next few months.
All this and more gardening tips are available at edrush.com. I don't know where you were going with that, but you pulled it out. You pulled it back around. Let me show you this. This is what happened over the weekend.
I just really wanted to talk about that plant that Rick had to get.
I can tell. All right, Associated Press. Let me show you this. USAID security chiefs placed on leave after they refused to turn over classified material to Elon Musk government inspection teams, officials say. Okay, here's the thing. There's plenty of people you may not like in government, but once someone's been appointed to do something by the president, he's been empowered to do that. You just don't say, no, we're not going to, no, we're not going to give you stuff. We're not going to give you stuff. In fact, here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio to explain just a little bit more. Watch.
Well, look, I mean, my frustration with USAID goes back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so. So the functions of USAID, there are a lot of functions of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy, but it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly during my confirmation hearing that every dollar we spend and every program we fund, will be aligned with the national interest of the United States. And USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that they're somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded. And that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct the sort of mature and serious review that I think foreign aid writ large should have. We're spending taxpayer money here. These are not donor dollars. These are taxpayer dollars. And we owe the American people the assurances that every dollar we are spending abroad is being spent on something that furthers our national interests. And so far, a lot of the people that work at USAID have just simply refused to cooperate. Are you currently in charge of USAID? I'm the acting director of USAID. I've delegated that authority to someone, but I stay in touch with him. And again, our goal was to go in and align our foreign aid to the national interest.
Again, Rick, $50 billion, $50 billion of our dollars. Think of all the things we could have done here at home as opposed to what they were doing, whatever they were doing with it. And I'm going to go down some examples, so don't quote examples. But Rick, I want to help break this down for the Flashpoint Army so they can really get what it was.
And unaccountable as well, right? Because you heard Senator Rubio say it. Senator Cruz has said the same thing. Senator Paul, others. We can't get answers from these people. We're in charge as the members of Congress to know where these dollars are going, and we can't ever seem to get answers from them. Gina, I have to point out the quality of your guests. I mean, when you have a guy like Ed that can actually take a dying plant, compliment his wife, and segue into the topic that you actually asked him about. I mean, come on, people. That's impressive. I mean, you don't ever see that on CNN or anywhere else. I mean, incredible.
Long form.
Yeah.
You just
that's right.
I love it.
But I want to keep his analogy going because I think it's perfect. What happens when you don't prune and it goes wild? It goes completely wild. These agencies have gone wild. There's been no one trimming them back. There's been no one holding them accountable. And it's created a situation where we've actually lost credibility in the world because of the things that we funded and the things that we've created to undermine other governments. So I think this is so good. Last thing I'll say to all of this, the beauty of Donald Trump's ability to just stick it in the face of the people that have been trying to destroy America. Tulsi Gabbard, in charge of the very agency that investigated her. RFK, going to be in charge of the very agency that called him a conspiracy theorist and all these other crazy things. Marco Rubio, in charge of the agency that refused to give him the answers that he was supposed to get. The list goes on and on and on. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It's not going to all happen overnight. Boy, it sure feels like it is. But these kind of things, again, are going to take longer. But I think what Rubio said is important. The important things that it's doing that we do need it to do for the State Department and for our nation can still be done. But back to what Ed said, with the light of day, with the the sunlight's the best disinfectant, as Bill Bennett said, and I have weird things going on my TV. Anyway, good stuff happening.
Yeah, it is. In fact, I'm going to go to you, Nate, because Rick's going to have to reboot his whole television set of it. Look at this is Caroline Leavitt this weekend, and then we're going to start. I'm going to give you some really great examples, or make you cry. Watch this.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look, because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
All right, Nate, she's already learned how to walk off when she's done. These examples, when you start knocking on what people have been doing, you talk about pulling back the covers, pulling back the curtains, and exposing the light to your plant that's gone wild. See what I did there? And when we start seeing the light of what really has been happening, that makes a lot of people in government nervous there, Nate. What do you think?
Well, it's not just on the federal level, but it's on the state level as well. Yeah. Look, I don't know that Texas is funding transgender operas over here, but at the end of the day, what we are funding is unbelievable things that the people of Texas never voted for us to fund. I'll give you an example. We have DEI initiatives still going on in our public universities to this day, and they're being funded by taxpayer dollars. We've got lobbyists that are working directly against your interests that are funded right now, and we can't seem to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying. Look, this is at every level of government. One of the most important things we could do is this DOJ committee to be able to audit these things and say, hey, not only do the American people not know that we're spending this money, but I think it's important that the entire world knows that we're spending this money. I think it's important that our government officials, I don't even think Congress knew we were spending this money because it's been far too long where we've had no accountability. Imagine what we could do taking down our debt inside of our nation if we just simply knew line item by line item, where is our money going? Imagine what type of taxes we could cut. Imagine what we could do with property taxes. It's insane.
Oh, now you're talking. I re-elect Nate Schatzline right now. Okay, let me go through. I want to show you some of these. Are you ready? You ready? Okay, here we go. USAID has awarded $969,821 to Stephen Leonelli, Washington, D.C., for supporting development and democracy and innovation, inclusive development hub programs, protecting the human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex individuals. I'm not sure how they got to that number, but I don't agree with it. Here's another one. $1,999,900. This was in 24. Purpose, strengthen trans-led organizations to deliver gender-affirming health care. Imagine if they did that for health care for the rest of us. Advocate for improved quality, access to services, provide economic empowerment and opportunities, and it's in Guatemala. What happened to America First? It's in Guatemala. All right, let's keep going. DOJ post, USAID spends $40 billion of taxpayer dollars, I'm getting excited, to fund foreign aid, $45 million for DEI scholarships in Burma. What? Who are these people? $520 million for consultant-driven ESG investments in Africa. Now, that's a real winner. I'm trying to figure that one out. $1.2 billion in awards to undisclosed recipients. Ooh. Oh. That was from usaspending.gov. And if that wasn't bad enough, it just keeps going. USAID tells teachers to hide students' gender identity from their parents. Americans billed $27 million to fund reintegration gift bags for deported Central Americans. Excuse me, wait a minute. Reintegration gift bags for deported Central Americans. This is like, it's like a parting gifts. You know, thank you for coming. Here's your parting gift as you leave. U.S. wasted $160 million to improve Afghanistan's corrupt customs payment system. Really? And as if that's not enough, the Biden administration authorized $20 million for the creation of Sesame Street in Iraq to promote inclusion. That's the one right there, Rick Green. That's what it's all about. Sesame Street promoting inclusion. I'm not done, but I'll give you a break. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, they're giving money to Rockefeller Institute. They're giving money to pro-Hamas organizations. So a lot of this stuff that we've watched happen even in our streets. So, everything you gave, it's supposed to all be foreign, right? Forget it. No, they're doing it here. They're funding these organizations that are actually undermining the pro-America agenda, even here in our country. And that's our money. So it's like you said, Gene, we're literally having our money taken from us to support and grow these things that are exactly the opposite of our values, and ultimately to undermine the greatness of our country. That's why the American people were so angry last year. A lot of the dates on the things that you just showed, January of last year, summer of 2023. So people were beginning to learn these things, and it was really invigorating the American people to get involved. And now the books are being opened and we're getting the whole list. And I think it's just going to create more momentum, to Nate's point, not only at the federal level, but at the state, the local level. I encourage every public servant in the country, if you've been elected and you consider yourself a patriot, a Constitution-loving, God-fearing, lover of America, then you start looking for how you can do in your office, whether it's state or local or wherever you are, exactly what Donald Trump's doing in Washington, D.C. If we do that all the way down the line, guys, man, we're looking at a true revolution that's going to last for a generation.
All right. Now, this is the part that'll just make you mad. Let me show you this from Rand Paul. Watch.
Ms. Powers, did USAID fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
We did not fund gain of function research.
That's not the question. You know. The question is, did you fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
Before my time, there was the PREDICT program with which you're familiar, which ended in China in 2019.
Yeah, this is a $200 million program, and the GAO has also identified that some of these grants went directly to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where there is a suspicion that the lab leak began the pandemic. Has USAID awarded funds to the Academy of Military Medical Sciences in China?
Not to my knowledge, but I'd have to give.
I think the answer is once again yes. GAO has found that there have been subawards of NIH money, as probably as well as USAID money, that went to the Academy of not just medical research, military medical research in China. Now, part of the unknowns here is we can't get the records to look at this. So I've been asking for months and months for records. In September of last year, I wrote Ms. Powers, USAID, a request asking for records from the PREDICT program. These are not classified. These are simply records of scientific research, and we want to read the grants to find out what they were doing and whether the research was dangerous or not. The response I got from your agency was USAID will not be providing any documents at this time. They're just unwilling to give documents on scientific grant proposal. We're paying for it. They're asking for $745 million more in money, and we get no response.
And it just goes on and on and on. Ed, what do you think so far? I got more, but go ahead. I'll give you a comment.
Amen. We've got, I don't know if this is credible or not, but I seen on X today that apparently part of the funding was going to the person who was literally COVID patient zero. Even if that's not true, this is unbelievable. And the fact that it's been hidden for so long, all I can say is thank God it's coming to light. Like Rick said, the sunlight is a wonderful disinfectant. So it's just good to see all this coming out. It's going to be a fun month to watch all this go.
Well, let me answer that question for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Through USAID, Fauci's NIAID sent over $40 million in U.S. taxpayer support, that's you and me, to a scientist in Wuhan who was working on bat coronavirus emergence research, who, by the way, also became patient zero for COVID-19. There it is. So let me show you this. Breaking, the conspiracy theorists were actually right. Elon Musk just confirmed used U.S. taxpayer money to fund COVID-19. Okay, you could stop right there and that should be enough. But no, let's just keep going. This also confirms why Joe Biden, watch this, he chose the year 2014 for the Anthony Fauci pardon. Remember when he did that? Why would he go all the way back to 2014? Because that's when Barack Obama and Fauci took over the Ukraine biolabs and started working on bioweapons. Crimes against humanity can't be pardoned. 2014 was also the year the CIA took over the Ukraine government under U.S. supervision. Ukraine fell into civil war in February 2014. It's really all connected. Tucker was talking about Ukraine biolabs. What are they doing with the pathogens in those biolabs? So that's like the scariest thing that's ever happened, the potential to destabilize the world more than anything that's happened in my lifetime. Democrats have been involved in Ukraine biolabs since the CIA overthrew the Ukraine government. The whole reason Ukraine was chosen for the war is the reason why Anthony Fauci was pardoned back in 2014. The date matched perfectly. You go, oh, well, Gene, come on. I'm going to do my Lance impression. Gene, I need to see some I need to see some proof here. Well, I've got that for you. Here we go. This is current pending support. Look at this. Let's go down the list if you can see it. NIAID, $3,586,760,000. The Eco Health Alliance and International Field and Lab Locations, that's 2019 to 24. Skip down here to the third one there. NIAID, $3,086,735. I wonder where they get these weird numbers. Total award from 6/14 to 5/19. And look at the last one at the bottom of the page. Source of support, the USAID. Total award amount, $38 million. Eco Health Alliance subcontract from UC Davis. That was from October 2014 to September 2019. 2019. Nate, come on. The truth will set you free.
Here. The madness is crazy. We're seeing currently right now in our new rules package under our speaker, we still have mandatory mask mandates in the state of Texas. Look, the woke mind virus took its toll on the U.S. government and it's taken its toll on society, but America is waking up. The hope is this, is that even those that aren't politically engaged, they're starting to wake up and recognize what happened in 2020. We can never allow that to happen again. And this stuff must be exposed. Look, all I'm saying is our pastor says it best. We're called to be kind. But we're also called to be kind to savage. And we've got to be kind to savage when we're pointing out the absolute insanity of the left when it comes to this woke mind virus, the actual coronavirus, and all of these things such as mask mandates, vaccine mandates. Look, it's time to let common sense reign again in America. And I'm proud that Donald Trump's doing just that.
All right, Nate.
Is your hair on fire yet?
Wow. It gets worse. There's more. I mean, wow.
Yeah. We're not going to get to Carl Higbee tonight. We got immigration to get through and the DEI stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, that was too important. We needed to let that play. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Yeah.
I like that. I really like that.
That just, you wonder why they're mad. And now you're seeing why Biden has done what he's done. You know, it's like, why would you pardon Fauci and all these people back to 2014? Why would you pardon your son back to 2014? Well, because of the shenanigans you did in 2014. Because you knew that the Department of Government Efficiency was going to start with USAID and uncover the crap that you did in Ukraine that your son had a part of when you were vice president.
Right. Right.
You knew that Doge was going to uncover the stuff that you did with Ukraine and the Wuhan lab and everything that you did when you were vice president and Fauci was involved with, that you had your hand with.
Right. Wow.
So, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. No wonder they're scared. And all these Democrats, well, except for the younger ones, like Jasmine Crocker, I don't know what that woman's problem is, or the Alana, what her name is. I forget her last name. That woman's a basket case too. And that other white guy, I don't know what her problem is. Cory Bush, I don't know what his problem is. AOC, I think she sniffed too many alcohol fumes when she was tending bar, because I don't know what her problem is. But they're basket cases. Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters.
Oh, that was embarrassing.
They got their hand in the cookie jar. They don't want to be exposed, but they got their hand in the cookie jar.
But check this out. The part where it mentioned 1.2 billion undisclosed or identified.
Stuff. It's like, why aren't you disclosing it? Why doesn't anybody know about it? Why isn't there any records of it? Why can't they find any records of it? What are you hiding? And it's what, like when Marco Rubio was a senator and asking for, which is his right as a senator to ask for documentation on certain things. Why didn't you give it to him?
Right.
You're just a department of the government. You have no rights. You are governed under these entities here. The Congress, you are subject to Congress and the Senate and the executive branch. When they ask for documents, and the judicial branch, when they ask for documents, when they ask for certain things, you give it to them. And they have subpoena powder. Maxine's wig is on too tight. Yeah, well, that woman gets me. I don't know how she gets reelected. She doesn't live in Compton. She is the congresswoman of Compton, and she doesn't live there. She lives outside of Compton. Do you think she would ever be found, stepping foot, living in Compton in the hood in gang territory? No way.
So she is the what of Compton?
She is the congresswoman of Compton.
Wow.
That's where the Bloods and Crips live.
Yeah.
Gang territory.
So is that still real bad there?
Yes. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't show my lily white face there.
Wow.
I had to go there when I was like 19, 20 years old. I worked for a property management company, and I had to go there, and believe me, I was terrified. We managed apartment buildings down there, and this little Mexican woman would go and collect the rents, and I had to go get a briefcase full of money from her. I'm 19, 20 years old. I had no weapon with me. I mean,
oh, wow.
And I looked like I was 15, 16 years old.
Oh.
And I'm driving down there in a flashy Firebird. I had a white Firebird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was like, let's see. This was like 81, 82, and I had a 77 Firebird.
Wow.
Yeah. And, a little bit more, them talking about war and all of that. The definition about going, what they're talking about and going against the government is called an insurrection. They talk about what the people did on the Capitol on January 6th and Donald Trump calling for an insurrection. And all he did was said, go to, march to the Capitol and peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Right.
That was not an insurrection.
Right.
That was a protest. What they're calling for is an insurrection. We're at war. We will fight. That's words of an insurrection. You know, Maxine Waters back in 2018 says, we will get in their face. We will punch them. We will beat them into submission.
Oh, wow.
And that's on tape. She will say that. She has said that.
Has she been confronted by that?
No. They can say whatever they want and they can get away with whatever they want. And that's wrong. You know, they need to be put on notice. You can't say that, you cannot incite riots. You cannot incite violence. Right. You know, Hakeem Jeffries just a couple of days ago said, we need to take this fight to the streets. Well, what does that mean? You're going to incite violence again? Riots? Just like what, you know, Kamala Harris did during the George Floyd riots?
Right.
Back in 2020? You know, keep rioting. That's not right. That's against the law. Well, why aren't they prosecuted? You can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
That's right. Wow.
Oh, that makes me so mad.
Wow.
So, any question on Doge and USAID? We spent an hour and a half on this topic.
I know. Yeah.
So our next one.
I don't see any questions on that. No.
All right. Our next one is on immigration. So I'm going to cue this up.
Yes. Let me see, Teresa. Yes, it's the biggest sex trafficking game ever. I will expose them to, I will not be surprised. Yeah. I'm with you, Teresa, on that. Let's see. So is everyone kind of understand? Oh, here we go.
President Trump unleashing an immigration enforcement machine, carrying out his promise to secure our southern border and the northern one. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is visiting active duty military in El Paso, Texas, who are working alongside now Border Patrol agents. They've been there. The numbers are getting bigger per Trump. We have new images of the United States Marines arriving at Guantanamo Bay, where violent illegal immigrants will be detained. Also this, the Trump administration has been working round the clock to round up and deport criminal illegals on flights out of our country. Trump's crackdown has also sparked protesting across the country. In Dallas, people taking to the streets waving Mexican flags. In Los Angeles, police in riot gear forming a human barricade to shut down a protest that was blocking the busy 101 freeway. And in another surprising video, protesters burned the American flag. Well, whose side are they on? I almost hesitate to put those up because I know it causes more people just to try to get attention by burning flags. But there you have it.
So you decide at 9 o'clock in the morning, a social media post went out that said protest, and the police let 101 freeway with everything that the trauma that everything that Los Angeles has been through, traffic anyway on a Sunday, Now they let them shut down an unpermitted protest until 6 o'clock at night. It's unbelievable. And then to understand the Mexican flag and El Salvador flag is not going to sell your story. Your story is, I feel like an American, I've been here. Instead, you're saying, I feel like a Mexican and I deserve to take over here. One of the signs said, America's on stolen land anyway. That's not going to win over today's America. That might have been fantastic in 2020. We're not buying it now. So between that and what's happening with Rubio pushing to shut down the Darien Gap, the Venezuela taking back their people, what is happening on so many different ways, there is a massive crackdown in America on illegal immigration.
Can we just talk for a second about the Darien Gap? That's going to save a lot of lives of women and children in particular. That is some of the most harshest ground to traverse on the planet. And they're bringing
should play a role too.
Little ones coming through. So to hear that Secretary Rubio is concentrating on that is a miracle, really.
There's so many balls in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the left, for as much as they care about the humanitarian aspect of immigration, tons of people came through the Darien Gap and lost their lives, to your exact point. That image that we see in Los Angeles, LAPD was ready to engage and arrest folks if necessary. They weren't able to do that. And Bill Malugin says he spoke to the rank and file, and they said, this is the same old crap. We're chasing these guys down around all day for absolutely nothing. And this is what we're seeing. I mean, this is resisting Trump. There you're seeing it in LA. You go over to Chicago, and apparently there are these groups where when they see ICE come in these black SUVs, they mobilize. And ICE was actually not able to make an arrest in Chicago on that day because the community mobilized. But who are you mobilizing to support? The guy in Boston who had a second-degree murder charge? The guy in San Antonio who was found with a murder weapon from an unsolved murder last November, who was, by the way, released by Biden into the interior? Who exactly are you protecting? How about the guy in Buffalo, who is someone who was accused of all kinds of sexual trafficking and was found with an innocent young woman who he is believed to be trafficking at that moment? This is who we're going after. So work with us to protect the innocent and act humanitarianly by stopping some of the things that we're seeing.
Yeah, the worst go first. Like, who would defend against that, Marie?
Well, the Trump team has been telling us that the worst go first. And I've said on this network.
Well, there's a lot of transparency. I mean, we see.
I've said on this network many times, I support convicted criminals being deported. We saw from some of those early flights to Colombia that it included pregnant women. It included children.
Did they come over illegally?
It included, but they had not been convicted of crimes.
No, the first crime is when you break our law of sovereignty.
No, but the Trump team said it will be the hardened criminals, the people Kayleigh mentioned, convicted of violent crimes.
And if they are with other illegals who cross the border?
Are we okay deporting pregnant women who have not committed a crime except for coming here? If we are, then we should say that. The Trump team should say that. Second, freedom of expression and protest is still legal in this country. We may not like it.
Yeah.
And to Brian's point, I think you make a good point about who are they trying to convince here, right? Who are they trying to convince? I think some of the most effective arguments I've seen made are, for example, people in the restaurant industry, people in the home healthcare industry, industries that rely on immigrants, both legal, undocumented people going through the system, and are willing to work with law enforcement to say, look, parts of this entire city we are sitting in would shut down if every person who came here illegally was deported. So how do we do this in a way that, to Kayleigh's point, protects people from criminals, doesn't shut down major parts of the economy, including the agriculture sector? That's the challenge right now.
Emily.
Number one, protesting on a freeway is always illegal. That's not protected protest, especially non-permitted protest. But secondly, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like we always talk about this. And I think it's a fallacious argument always. It's sort of like saying, if I can't afford to pay my taxes, what am I going to do? Like I have to do it this way because I can't afford it otherwise. There will be short-term pain as we readjust things. But the notion that the first foundational argument is, well, we rely on illegal immigration in these particular industries doesn't fly, because the American industry is still suffering then if it's not honest labor. And there's a lot of unemployed Americans or legal immigrants that then could be selected for such. I'm not going to bless an argument where the premise relies on the backs of illegal immigrants. And I think to your point, we've seen communities rally in the past around protecting themselves from horrific people like Larry Singleton and Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, right? And to see the communities rally around so misguidedly these recidivist criminals is horrifying to me, because it means that the message is landed in a way that is so toxic and perverted. And when you see them burning the American flag, well, if it sucks here, you don't have to stay. But the reality is, not only is that anti-American, it's pro-cartel. So everyone waving the Mexican flags and everyone shutting down the LA freeway, you are telling me you align yourselves with the cartels above anything else.
So this mayor decides you can't get to your home in Pacific Palisades, it's too dangerous, but make sure the cops don't get the illegal immigrants out of the street to block the 101 freeway. They are begging you to leave Los Angeles. You should do that.
Breaking our initial law, whether you are, whatever your health or medical situation is, as you were pointing out, Marie, is breaking our laws to get into the country. And I know during the lead up to the election, people on your side of the aisle did not agree with Republicans on the fact that the first law broken is when you don't legally belong in this country. So I get it. We'll have a different discussion about pregnant women with birthright citizenship. Trump is open for that discussion.
So the pregnant woman that comes over here illegally in the United States and gets deported for a crime for coming over to the United States illegally, but hasn't done anything else because Trump said that the criminals will go first. Is she a criminal? Because she hasn't done anything else. She hasn't stolen anything. She hasn't committed murder and anything else. But is she a criminal?
That's the question.
Is she a criminal?
Yes. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, somebody gave a scenario like this. They said, could I just come in your house without you asking me?
No.
Like, they asked somebody that. And the person said, well, no. And they said, well, why not?
Because it's my house, it's my territory, and I didn't ask you to come in.
Exactly. So they were making that, they were saying that scenario just, with the point that you're making, that that is what has happened. America is the bigger home that where people live within its borders. Some are born naturally over here, like like myself, you, and many of us probably who is watching, we were born naturally over here. And some were like, I think I want to live in America. So then you have to find out, how can I live in America? And so you have, you ask, you just like anything else, you
I got the perfect example.
And so that whole thing, just to finish that point, she hasn't, or he or whatever has not committed a crime within the borders. Well, there's a problem with that. First of all, you're actually saying we got to wait till something happened, like a Lincoln Riley or worse, and then the other thing is that there is not open borders here. And
we're a sovereign nation.
Pardon me?
We're a sovereign nation. We're supposed to have closed borders. But under the Biden administration, he said, everybody's welcome. Come on over. Well, so a perfect example is, like our new home. We're renting. We don't own our home. But if I wanted to live in this home, like, the last administration said, oh, this home's vacant. It's nice. I'll just break in and I'll just move right in. I'm living here. Am I a legal resident? Under the law, am I a legal resident?
No.
No, I'm a squatter. So, but what we had to do was we had to go through a property management company because it was managed under a property management. We had to fill out an application. We had to give references. We had to provide income documentation to show that we were capable of paying the rent. We had to show that we were citizens of the United States. We had to show our driver's license and social security cards that we were prove our identity. We said that we were we were. And after they vetted us and went through the process of calling in our references and everybody, they approved us to live here. So they ran a background check and all that stuff. Went through the process. We can stay here. If you want to live in this country, you fill out the paperwork, you provide the document, you go through the background checks, you prove your identity, and if you have no dings, you're not a criminal, you can live here.
Exactly.
There you are.
That's simple.
Not a problem.
Right. That's
I understand. You know, like our opening clip, that young man, it took 10 years for him to become a citizen, but he went through the process. And I get the process is broken. It needs improvement. Everything in this government is broken and needs improvement. We get that.
Yeah.
But, you know, come on. Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime that wants to improve things. And you got to tear it apart and look under the hood to find out what works and what doesn't work before you can fix anything.
Well, I would even say, I don't know if there's another president, but that has tackled it seriously like he has.
Exactly.
Because I will say this, every president, it's like they talk about it. I can recall, because the most that I will say when it comes to about the immigration has been a lot since Faith and Freedom. Learn more about it. I would recall immigration being brought up, oh, we need to secure the borders, blah, blah, blah. But then it was like a bypass thing. And, you know, you didn't really hear a whole lot more about it really until President Trump came along. Mm-hmm. And then that's when where it was like he was really serious, because I will be very honest, I had no idea how bad it was. I didn't even really know at one point the difference really between, okay, closed borders, open borders. Okay, so what does that really mean? And then as I became more knowledgeable, I'm like, what? And then when just the scandal of just how, especially in California, of what is happening, I'm just like, wow, I wonder if that's happening here in my county, in my state. So
yeah. No, you don't. I mean, I live in California, so we're a sanctuary state. We knew immigration's bad. You know, we get it. And it you know, it's been bad for as long as I know. I've been on this earth. You know, it's what we live with. It is what it is. But watching, I think COVID, because of the time that we had and started paying attention, you know, being home is really what opened my eyes to all of this, because I didn't pay too much attention to politics. I was a history nut. I love American history. And I used to read. I was a big thing. My big thing was I used to read historic romance novels, American history. That was my thing. I mean, it was weird. But I did love American history. And then COVID hit, and then we started really watching what was going on. And it's like, you've got to be kidding.
Wow.
And really started paying attention and paying attention what Trump was trying to do and how he was being, every time you turn around, they were trying to get this guy, and he wasn't being able to do anything, and even now, they're already starting to try and impeach him. For what? He has done nothing.
I did see that. What is now, Kathy, what is your thought? Do you think that they're going to be able to impeach him?
No.
Oh.
No. I mean, it's the Democrats trying to not do anything because they have they're the minority in Congress. So the Republican side is not even going to look at impeachment. So it's not going to go anywhere. They're just wasting time and making a lot of noise. So, it's just a bunch of words. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you look over here to keep you from looking over there.
Like a distraction.
Yep, trying to distract you. So back on to immigration again. So we all know what happened to Lincoln Riley. And a couple of days ago, President Trump signed the bill, the Lincoln Riley Act, which he said he would do. Congress passed the bill, and it went to the Senate, and President Trump signed it a couple of days ago. Well, here's an exchange that happened in Congress before it got passed between Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of my favorites, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I have a lot of respect for her on the Lincoln Riley Act. And this is quite, and I want to show this to you because I want you guys to show the difference between the parties and where their hearts lie with the American people. And I'm not going to say any more because I'm going to let you judge for yourself. You guys are all grown-ups, and LaTanya and I, we want to bring you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And we vow to bring you the truth. And in this point here, you can make up your own minds. So here we go.
The American people to know with eyes wide open what is inside this bill. Because we stand here just 2 days after President Trump gave unconditional pardons to violent criminals who attacked our nation's capital on January 6th. And these are the people who want you to believe, who want us to believe that they're trying to quote unquote keep criminals off the streets. They are opening the floodgates. I want the American people to know what is in this bill. Because in the guise and in the wake of tragedy, we are seeing a fundamental erosion of our civil rights. In this bill, if a person is so much as accused of a crime, if someone wants to point a finger and accuse someone of shoplifting, they will be rounded up and put into a private detention camp and sent out for deportation without a day in court, without a moment to assert their right and without a moment to assert the privilege of innocent until proven guilty. Without being found guilty of a crime, they will be rounded up. That is what is inside this bill, a fundamental suspension of a core American value. And that is why I rise to oppose it. If you're a dreamer, all someone has to do is point a finger and you will be rounded up. And we have seen moments like these happen before in the Patriot Act, in the wake of the travesty of 9/11, a fundamental suspension of American civil liberties. That is what we are seeing here today. Mr. Speaker, you may wonder why so many of our friends across the aisle who care so deeply about the rule of law happen to be so desperate to pass this bill after they are unleashing people who attacked police officers here on this Capitol into roaming our streets, who are publicly saying now they want to get a gun. Suddenly, these folks care about public safety? I don't think so. Look no further than the price tag of this bill, $83 billion. They know that it can't be paid for. They know that the capacity is not there. And you know what will be there? Private prison companies are going to get flooded with money, who give this money, no doubt. I want folks at home to look. Look at what members of Congress are invested in private prison companies who receive this kind of money, and look at the votes on this bill. It is atrocious that people are lining their pockets with private prison profits in the name of a horrific tragedy and the victim of a crime. It is shameful. It is absolutely shameful. And Mr. Speaker, I'll conclude with this. In a few months, there are members of Congress who voted for this bill who are going to pretend they didn't know about all the bad things that are going to happen because of it. So when a private prison camp opens in your town, when a dreamer...
Time has expired. I yield the gentlelady an additional 30 seconds.
So when a private prison camp opens in your town and they say, we didn't know this was going to happen, know that they did, and they voted for it. When a dreamer is disappeared from your classroom, when the President of the United States destroys what is left of the Constitution as he's announced in this attack on birthright citizenship, they will all say, we didn't know this was coming. And I want the American people to know that they did. This vote represents it. And with that, I yield back. Thank you very much.
Well, I certainly hope we do open as many prisons as possible to round up as many illegal aliens that have invaded our country and those that are breaking our laws, killing our citizens, women and children, and causing complete havoc across our great land. I support the Laken Riley Act, and I support the Laken Riley Act because Laken Riley should be alive today. And she would be alive today if it hadn't been for the Democrats and the Biden administration that ripped our border open and allowed this illegal alien monster to come into our country. And then in the state of New York, when this monster was arrested for committing crimes, the Democrat state of New York let him go. And that's how he came down to Georgia and murdered our Laken Riley. This is a bill that cannot get passed enough, and I'm so thankful that the American people overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump so that we can sign this bill into law, and it can't happen fast enough. Thank God. But listening to my colleagues, the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, complain and whine and defend illegal aliens that break the law the minute they cross our border is pathetic. The American people are so sick and tired of it. They cannot believe what our country has gone through. And it is enough. It is absolutely enough. But they will go on to defend anyone that is not American because of their America Last policies. You talk about tax dollars used. Our tax dollars should be used defending Americans. And you want to talk about spending a lot of money? Spending a lot of money should happen for American causes, American purposes, and American security. Laken Riley is a young woman who should be living her American dream, and she had the right to do it. But people that come across our border illegally are not Americans, and they do not have rights here. And that is exactly why anytime they break a law, anytime they cross into our country, they should be rounded up and shipped out as fast as possible. And if we need to build more prisons, then we'll do it.
And one of the things that I have been seeing
So who do you choose? Who do you stand with? Because mind you,
yeah,
AOC, she was talking about undocumented immigrants. She wasn't talking about American citizens. When she was talking about dreamers, she was talking about undocumented child immigrants. She was talking about people who are here illegally, not American citizens.
Yeah.
And one of those illegal, undocumented people killed Lincoln Riley. Brutally. Brutally killed her. They say that she fought for her life for 18 minutes.
Oh, wow.
On a Fitbit or something that she had.
How can you briefly, like, what happened? I've heard about her and she was a nursing student, and where was she? Like, where did this happen?
It was in Atlanta, Georgia. She was jogging. And when she was attacked. And she was wearing, I think she was wearing a Fitbit or some kind of fitness device. And yeah, she fought for her life for like 18 minutes, something like that.
How could they tell, like, what was?
Well, they could tell by her heart rate before her heart stopped. Because like my Apple Watch tracks my heart rate.
Right, how they could, right.
Yeah.
What did he do to her? What all did he do to her? What all?
I can't even go into that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, no, I don't even want to.
It was that bad?
It was that bad. It was brutal. It was just brutal. And
did he say why he did it when they, I mean,
he's just a monster. I mean, he was in jail in New York and they let him out. They let him out on bail for a violent crime. They let him out on bail. And then he went to Atlanta and killed him.
He's in, they didn't ship him back. He's in prison, right?
He's in jail, and he's probably one of the ones that's going to go to Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo Bay.
President Trump has set up 30,000 beds in Guantanamo Bay for the worst of the worst illegals. Okay. Yeah, they're going. Yeah, they're not going back to their countries. The worst of the worst. They're not going back so they can come back here. Okay. They're not going home.
Okay.
Because he's one of the ones that was deported and came back.
Wow.
So yeah, we talked about Lincoln Riley, that bill that was signed. And so we have this clip, and I didn't get to splice them together, but we have what happened. We have the speech from Lincoln Riley's mom and President Trump signing the bill. So let's show that. Maybe.
Okay, let me see.
My computer is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, let's do it this way.
Let's see. Thank you so much, everyone who is still with us. there's still a whole lot that I know we won't get to cover all of it, but if anyone have any questions or anything that you would like to say or share or ask. Let's see.
Okay, this is Lincoln Riley's mom before President Trump signed the bill.
Okay.
And now, before I sign the Lincoln Riley Act into law, I would like to ask Lincoln's really incredible mother. I've gotten to know, a very sad day I got to know her. But this is an amazing tribute to an amazing young person. And if you could come up, Allison, and say a few words, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Trump. We would like to thank Senator Katie Britt for her diligent bipartisan work to get this bill through the Senate. We'd also like to thank Congressman Mike Collins for his unwavering passion and for leading on the Lincoln Riley Act from the start. Our family will forever be grateful for the prayers of the people across our nation and for helping to get this legislation into law. We also want to thank President Trump for the promises he made to us. He said he would secure our borders and that he would never forget about Lincoln. And he hasn't. He's a man of his word. We trust that he will fight for the American people. Most importantly, I want to thank our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without his sacrifices, Lincoln's story would have ended on that horrific day that she was taken from us. But because of him, we can continue living knowing that we will see Lincoln again. There's no amount of change that will ever bring back our precious Lincoln. Our hope moving forward is that her life saves lives. We're so thankful that her passion for helping others and her legacy for doing good in the name of Jesus Christ will carry on. Thank you.
And now this is Trump signing the bill.
Thank you. Will you sign this in honor of Lincoln Riley? Come on up to separate people. So instrumental. Okay. Mr. President, government funding, can you take a quick question on government funding to pause? I don't think this is appropriate time to do it. Okay, I respect that, but I don't think it's appropriate. I can just tell you government is doing very well and we're cutting way back, but this is not the appropriate time. Thank you.
Who were all the people that were? I know that late we Lincoln
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley. Her mom spoke. The guy that was bald head, that was her dad, right?
I'm not sure, or her stepdad.
Okay. And who was the young lady in the pink dress?
I think that's her sister.
That
or
was her sister.
Or her aunt. The lady in the white blouse, I think that's her sister. I'm not sure who they all are.
Okay.
And following all of that. But yeah. So yeah. So
with the bill pass, with the bill pass moving forward.
Harsher penalties and punishment for migrant crimes, for these criminals, that do these things against American citizens for these illegals.
But not only just that, you took somebody's life,
right?
I mean, and
yeah, it's awful. So, moving on, we got one last thing, the DEI, because Trump did, that's day 2 of his presidency. He does away with DEI in all of government. I mean, it was done. He signed that bill and it was done. All DEI policies in all of government, every government agency was gone. And then last week we have the crash of that helicopter hitting that American Airlines thing. And mind you, guys, we're not saying, nobody's saying yet, because it hasn't been proven, that it was because of DEI. But there were DEI policies at play in that tower. Okay. So, and there was a shortage of air traffic controllers in that tower. There was one air traffic controller watching for the helicopters and the planes. And that is the busiest airport in the United States.
Oh, wow.
So, and there was a lot of stuff at play. So it wasn't good what was happening. In fact, the night before, there was almost the same collision between a Black Hawk helicopter and an American airliner.
Wow.
So, common sense, 2 and 2 you put together,
Yeah.
So this is from Jesse Waters. It's really good. It's a little bit long, but this is the end of our show. And so
yeah,
just this. So I'll keep.
Oh. Oh, Kathy, you're on mute.
Yeah, I did that because it starts playing when I cue it up.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
One witness described it as a big ball of fire and wreckage just falling down towards the river. Here's what it sounded like in the tower.
Crash, crash, crash. This is alert 3. Crash, crash, crash. This is alert 3. Where's the alert 3? It is off the approach end of runway 33. Approach end of runway 33. Helicopter crash.
This is the deadliest air disaster in America since 9/11. No one's blaming the American Airlines pilots. Planes can't get out of the way as easy as choppers. The Black Hawk pilots were pretty experienced. The male pilot had 1,000 hours under his belt. The female pilot had 500. So what happened? Tonight, we're learning that the air traffic control tower at Reagan National was understaffed. The New York Times breaking the story that one controller was doing the job of two. The controller, who is handling helicopters, was also instructing planes that were landing and departing from its runways. That's not normal. That means you're using two frequencies, and the plane pilots can't hear the helicopter pilots. Reagan National has had staffing shortages for a while. They're supposed to have 30 air traffic controllers in the tower. They only had 19. This is the busiest runway in America, and they're down 11 guys. In fact, the Washington Post is reporting that just Tuesday, another jet trying to land aborted and had to make a second approach after a helicopter appeared on its flight path. The president briefed the nation this morning and said DEI could be a factor.
I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress where you have many, many planes coming into one target. And you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. This guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good lineup.
Anytime you mention DEI, the press goes crazy because that's their baby.
We don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane, you think that's going to make a difference?
Does it comfort their families?
They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question. I'm surprised coming from you.
And the DEI defenders didn't stop.
I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers. And one of the other things I will tell you is that the systems that were built, I was going to rebuild the entire system, and then we had an election that didn't turn out the way it should have.
Now, we don't know what factor DEI played here. Could have been a mechanical issue, could have been medical. They've just recovered one of the black boxes, and this investigation is going to tell us the truth. But when DEI is in place, which it was at the FAA, standards get lowered, staffing's affected. And when there's a disaster like this, it makes everyone naturally suspicious. Late in the Obama-Biden administration, 1,000 well-qualified air traffic control applicants were rejected for not being diverse enough. That caused staffing shortages. And the Biden administration was sued for discriminating against qualified white applicants. The COVID shutdowns didn't help staffing either. They stopped training controllers for 2 years. How are air traffic controllers not essential workers? I have no idea. And this DEI thing isn't just a race thing. Biden instituted DEI quotas at the FAA in order to recruit workers who were deaf, vision impaired, missing limbs, completely paralyzed, epileptic, people who were severely intellectually disabled, psychiatrically disabled, and dwarfs. This was Biden's FAA just 2 years ago.
We need a diverse group of air traffic controllers to bring distinct perspectives to handle the ever-changing aerospace landscape. I'm calling on students and alumni from HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, and tribal colleges to apply now to become air traffic controllers.
Primetime also found this little slideshow from the Biden FAA titled Rethinking Diversity. And it says, quote, diversity plus inclusion equals better performance. Is that true? A major problem was that the FAA couldn't even fill their own DEI quotas. According to lawsuits, they discriminated against qualified candidates to hire diverse candidates, but they weren't able to hire enough diverse candidates. Air traffic control towers are short-staffed across the country. The agency has 1,000 fewer certified controllers today than it did a decade ago. Only 1% of air traffic facilities met their staffing targets last year. 1%. Why is the FAA the only agency in the federal government short-staffed? Every other agency has the opposite problem. They have too much personnel. Only at the FAA, they can't find enough people. Is that because you can't work remotely to be an air traffic controller? And it's not about money. Biden and Trump spent the exact same amount on the FAA. This is about mismanagement. And that's the president's point.
Are you saying race or gender played a role in this tragedy?
It may have. I don't know. Incompetence might have played a role. We'll let you know that. But we want the most competent people. We don't care what race they are. We want the most competent people, especially in those positions. And, you're talking about extremely complex things. And if they don't have a great brain, a great power of the brain, they're not going to be very good at what they do, and bad things will happen.
This is about competence, and it starts at the top. In less than 24 hours, the president came out, held an open-ended press conference with his secretaries of transportation and defense and his VP, and then took questions in the Oval and signed a presidential memo to get to the bottom of things. As a reminder, this is who Joe Biden nominated to run the FAA.
What airspace requires an ADS-B transponder? Quickly, please.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Not sure I can answer that question right now.
So what are the 6 types of special use airspace that protect this national security that appear on FAA charts? Quickly, please.
Sorry, Senator, I cannot answer that question.
So what are the operational limitations of a pilot flying under basic med?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. I'm not a pilot, so.
Can you tell me what the minimum separation distance is for landing and departing airliners during the daytime, Mr. Washington?
I don't want to guess on that.
Do you know the difference between those two, Part 44809 and Part 107? Do you know the difference there?
No, I cannot.
That guy had to withdraw his nomination because he was so unqualified. We've had mechanical issues with Boeing jets. Tulsi Gabbard was put on a TSA watch list. We've had near misses over and over again. These things should never happen in the United States of America. And a crash like this should never happen again. Our hearts and prayers go out to the families of these victims. We are so sorry for your loss. This is just such a senseless tragedy. What a sad day for this country.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to
That should have never happened in the first place. And what how do I want to put this? What any person who had any kind of self-worth, any morals, would even accept a nomination where they knew that they weren't even qualified for? Why would you accept it? I would never, if somebody nominated me for that position, I would never have even begin to accept it. I knew I could never do it.
Well, that's just like I just put, just because a person may have a passion for wanting to do something, it still needs to match the skills that's needed for the job.
Right.
Especially some of these very crucial life, that if you get it wrong, somebody could die. Like I just put in the comments, and people did. Like I just put in the comment section that, I mean, it's common sense. I cannot do that job. Please don't hire me because you want to land safely. Don't do it. A person could like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a surgeon. And but I don't have the skill level. I don't have it's just common sense. To me, it's not that difficult. It's just common sense. There are a lot of things that you may have compassion for that you may want to do. I love gymnastics. I have ever since I was a kid, and I love it. And at all levels, college, Olympics, but I can't. I don't have the skill levels, and I definitely don't have them now. So, and you laugh instead of crying. Because these families, it's like, that was something that just did not have to happen. And that's one of the things I wanted to
and it very well could have been pilot error. They don't know because of the night goggles they were wearing, the pilot was wearing in the Black Hawk could have blinded, her vision. So yeah, you don't know. It goes back to common sense, but but people, it's got to go back to common sense and self-worth. It's like we are not teaching our kids and people, that you are worth something. And just because, you need to find your talents and what you're good at. Just because some teacher, my son, he wanted to be a marine biologist. He loved the ocean. He loves the ocean. And the first time that we took him to SeaWorld, he was about 4 years old. He would not leave the shark tank. And at SeaWorld, you walk through this tunnel, and the aquarium, the sharks would go over this big tube. And he was mesmerized, and he would not leave it. He was so mesmerized by it. And he was at about 6th grade, and he didn't enjoy reading. He couldn't find his stride in reading and all of that. Right. And this stupid teacher told him, well, you'll never, and his dream was to go to UCLA to become a marine biologist and to play soccer. That was his dream. And as we were moving, I found a letter. We were going through boxes and stuff, and I found a letter that he wrote to himself. And those were the two things that was on there.
Right.
Is that he was playing soccer for UCLA and he was becoming a marine biologist. Oh. And this stupid teacher told him, and he told me years later, that you will never go to UCLA and you will never become a marine biologist because you don't read good enough. And I'm like, well, why didn't she help you learn to read better? That was her job. He would never tell me who the teacher was.
You know what, Kathy? I'm gonna this when you said that this was and just what you think about this. You know how there is this thing where we tell and I'm not saying you should squash people's dreams, goals, nothing like that. And then there's people who have been wrong about it. But when we say you can be and do anything you want to be and do, and how I say this, I don't think anyone should squash somebody's hopes. They should squash somebody's or anything of that nature. But what I'm saying is that, like, when I was in college, my first what I wanted to do was be a lawyer, and I wanted to get a degree, and I was going on a path of political science. But I got to a point where it was like, I can't do this. And that doesn't mean that I'm smart, that I'm not smart enough or anything of that nature. I think there's a way that you can say it. If a person, but interesting enough, I was good because I was getting a bachelor's of science. So I had to get, the science curriculum courses. And so I took anatomy and physiology, and our professor was a surgeon. He happened to be a surgeon. So the way he did things when we had labs, like the cat, when we had to learn the different parts of the cat. He did it not with the cat intact, and we didn't know it, but it was pieces of the cat. So and we had just only a couple of minutes. I remember this so vividly, where we had to be at each station. So he was like, that way, that's how you really knew that you knew this cat. And I got to be out of that course. I did good in that course. And I was even helping someone who was actually a med student who, who asked to study with me. And so, but one of the reasons why I didn't go in the medical field, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't, the blood with needles, and I'm not really strong in math. And I know at a certain, so I guess what I'm saying is that someone who maybe they would tell you the truth in the sense that, okay, if you really are bent on you want to do this or be an astronaut, this is what the prerequisites is going to be. And if you work hard, if you want me to really help you, oh my gosh, a cat. I'm sorry, Cherie. I wasn't thinking yet. And so, and where that comes
from. Give them everything that you need to be strong in to go that direction, but that teacher didn't give them that direction.
Right.
Because I get your point. Right. The thing is now he's still at the sea. He's in the Navy. He's in he's
right.
He's still out in the ocean somewhere.
Right. Yeah. So it's like on the other side of that, it's a way to do it if you identify a person's, because what better than to have somebody in a field that is their passion, and yet they are at the top of their game, and the two match together. And that's where I think on the other side of the DEI that it has some issues. I mean, okay, this is what I'm saying. So like President Trump took rid of it. So then my next question would be, okay, like what we're talking about, how do you then build to get, the biggest, the brightest, and then how do you handle when there actually is a situation where, some people, you could have, let's say 3 people of ethnicity, but you're now seeing where you're only hiring one ethnicity, even though everybody, is qualified. So I think there needs to be a little, it's like, okay, you got rid of it. Now let's start and build it the right way. Not maybe so much DEI, how they called it, but how do you,
Well, so basically, here's my point. I don't know how you get rid of racism except for, there's racism has been a problem since the beginning of days. I do think that you need to take that question off of every single application and everything. Job applications, loan applications, everything. Medical applications, everything. It needs to be off of everything. Nobody needs to know, you applying for a job, what race you are. It does not matter. You're filling out an application to go to school. It does not matter what race you are. It does not matter, well, unless you're applying for a dorm, what if you're male or female. That's a different.
Right.
If you're applying for a job, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. I don't care.
Right.
All that should matter is your qualifications.
I agree.
Your education, your work history. That's all that matters.
I agree.
When you're applying for a loan, it's the same thing. It does not matter if you're male, female, or the color of your skin. It does not matter. Get it off the application.
Yeah. Now I agree, because even just recently it was something I was asked, and everything was going great. And then it was like, what's your ethnicity? Or something of that nature. And I was, and I,
you know what? We need to stop answering that question. And now medical,
like, what does that have to do with this particular thing?
Yeah. And medical, that's another story, because there is some diseases and stuff, medical conditions that may be more predominant in certain races than there are other things. I get that.
And I can tell you which, such as like sickle cell.
Exactly.
Sickle cell.
Yeah.
Now if you're referring to, sickle cell does, right. That one.
That I understand. Right. And so that's different. But for a job, going to school, your skin color doesn't matter.
Job, going to school, applying for something, all of that. It should
not matter.
It does not matter. Yeah.
Quit keeping. George Freeman said you want to end racism. Stop talking about it. I heard him say that. He said, plain, prayer, and simple. Stop talking about it. Okay. There you go.
Stop talking about it. Well,
I guess so. If he said it. I mean, he didn't play God. He's played the president. He played God.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
I love Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, he is.
So anyway, well, DEI, it's a horrible concept. It's awful. It really is. Yeah. Going back to, earlier, when I was watching the Jackie Robinson story, 42, the baseball player, and what that man went through was horrific. And the brutality that he went through because of his skin color and what people were like was just like, and then when his teammates started to rally around him was just like, it brought tears to my eyes. It's like, we're a team, aren't we? And I remember this one guy, Pee Wee, because they went and played, I forget what state they went and played in, and it was close to Kentucky, and his family was there, and they were standing out in the middle of the field, and he put his arm around Jackie Robinson, this white guy, and he goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, we're just having a chat out here." And he goes, "Are you trying to prove something?" And he goes, "No, I'm not trying to prove something." He goes, "We are teammates and we need to act like teammates." And he goes, "I'm trying to prove something to my family."
Wow.
That we are
He said,
he says, "I'm trying to
wow,
prove something to my family."
to my family.
Yeah. And it's like, wow.
Mm. Well,
Like, it's powerful.
that is powerful. Well, Kathy, when we mentioned about what is the answer, and Sister Shireen, just as there's a solution to every problem,
Yes,
Jesus is the answer for sin. Only Jesus. And that's true. That is that is true.
Oh, and that was the other thing. So the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers at that time, Branch, I think it was Branch Ridley was his name, Branch Ridley, something like that. He was a man of God. He was a man of God, and he was doing it for Jesus. He said when he was a college coach and there was a strong black man, a fantastic player, and he didn't do enough to support him, he said the next black man that he could help that was played baseball, which was Jackie Robinson, and he said if he didn't want to stand before God and say that he didn't do enough to support somebody. And that's the reason that he helped Jackie Robinson. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
That's the reason he gave Jackie Robinson a shot, was because for the love of Jesus.
For the love of Jesus.
For the love
and I would say even the fear and reverence of God. Because
absolutely.
Like you said, he didn't want to stand before God and whew.
Yeah. Yeah. That just blew me away. And it's like, and I think about why you and I started this. And it's like, because the news is awful. It doesn't give you the truth. And our little show, we do our best to get you the truth.
We do. We do.
And as you and I had that conversation this morning, about not sugarcoating it anymore. And I know before the election, we didn't want any hurt feelings, and all of that. And it's like, we're going to tell you the truth, and it may hurt you, but it's going to be truth and love, and we have to be bold and we have to be courageous. Jesus did not hold anything back, and he was courageous and he was bold. And we have to be the same now. Our world depends on it. It depends on Christians speaking up. We're losing it. We're losing souls, people. We're losing souls to Satan. And we can't. We have to share the love of Jesus.
Yes. Well, Jesus, I don't know when I say this, I don't know how it may sound, but Jesus told the truth. He said, if they hate me, they're going to hate you. You're going to go through trials and tribulations. He did not hide any of that. He didn't.
Nope.
He didn't. So he didn't. Now, do we know all of what we will go through and put in our faith in Jesus? We don't. But he didn't say that it was going to be easy. that it's going to be many trials, many things, but it's going to be worth it. Paul, he told him, but he did tell Paul, he said, you're going to suffer many things. Well, he didn't say specifically, and we know Paul suffered many things.
That's right.
I don't know if we could handle if he told us, Kathy, Shireen, T, those in the eye, you're going to suffer many things.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah,
I you know, but so that's what we want to strive. I'm not going to say we're going to be perfect with what it is. We're not trying to like one party or the other, because both have their I mean, they do. We're not saying either one of them, and we're not even saying Trump, you know, President Trump. But
he's not
when no. But what we do see, we want to try to come with a with just with the truth and with a biblical perspective as well with it. And so, because like Kathy was saying, and I did not know this. This was stuff that I learned from in our early time of Faith and Freedom, that these news stations, I really was like, okay, surely they're they're not going to be the way that they were, but that's not true. I didn't know that certain ones were bent toward certain groups. I really didn't know that. And then as I got especially during the election, I was like, wait a minute, wow, why is this? And then it was like, oh, wow. So see, they're not telling you the truth. They're not. And so, yeah, we need to be informed. You need to be informed. And yes, I'm not saying Christians, like I don't get in politics. Well, I mean, in a way you are, because when these certain bills and different things are being passed that are ungodly, and not because I think they're ungodly, but they don't, they go against God's word and what no, we can't make people live a certain way, but we can help be a part to not further what's going on.
If you believe the Bible, you're involved in politics, because the Bible is the kingdom of God. A kingdom is a government. It's political. Think about it. Think about it. There is, if you study the Bible, there is a lot of political stuff in there. And God talks about he tells us to pray for our government leaders. He talks about holding our government leaders accountable. He talks about picking wise and righteous government leaders. He tells us to do that. So we are to be political. It's our duty to do so. We're going to be held accountable for our choices, whether we get involved or not. So pray about it. And, don't take mine or LaTanya's word for it. Go research it for yourself. Study the Bible about it. And go search YouTube. There's plenty of pastors out there that preach on it. So if there's not any more questions or anything, we're going to say good night.
Yes.
Love you all. Thank you for joining us. Please join us next Friday night. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of crazy things that happen in the next week.
Yes.
Lot to talk about. So we love you all. God bless. Thank you for subscribing.
Yes. Please, if you have not.
Yes. And share this podcast with your friends and family.
Yes.
And until next time.
Till next time. God bless. Have a good night, and hope your Sunday is a blessed one tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh yeah, Super Bowl.
Chiefs or Eagles?
Or the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, the New Orleans Saints.
Is it?
No, Chiefs or Eagles?
Oh, is it?
It's in New Orleans, but it's the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs.
Did one of them win last year?
I don't know. I
think it's a repeat. Like I said, I do watch the Super Bowl, but I don't follow football. But I pick a team.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Until next time. God bless.
God bless.